touch, we'll get back to your calls, text, tweets and voice notes in just a second, but I want to speak to Pen Farthing, the former Royal Marine and Animal Rescuer, who is joining me after rescuing over 30 cats and dogs from war-torn communities in Ukraine. Pen, well done on doing that. I'm a massive adopt and shop rescue person, although I only went a few miles down the road to my local animal rescue shelter to get my cat. But tell us what you did, why you did it. I mean, there must have been so many different logistical issues when it comes to Ukraine and that war-torn region.
Yeah, so our charity, Nowzad, has actually been operating in Ukraine now for 4 years. And we've been supporting a number of shelters in the east of the country where, sadly, their communities have kind of moved to the west to seek shelter, but the actual shelters and the staff have had to stay because there was nowhere for them to just take the dogs and cats. And so we helped to keep them in place by food and medicine. But sadly now Russia has actually advanced so close to the city now, one of them, Kramatorsk, for example. And so we actually were asked by the Ukrainian volunteers there to assist them in helping relocate these dogs and cats to the west of the country into safer shelters.
What kind of, I can't imagine any circumstance where I would ever abandon my cat. He is like my child. He is my best friend. There will be people who, because of the war there, have become separated from their animals, probably not through choice. How big a problem is that in Ukraine that you've seen?
It's a huge problem. Sadly, a lot of the housing accommodation in the west of Ukraine is unable to take dogs and cats. So the humans, the people are actually having to evacuate, but make that horrendous decision to leave their dog and cat behind. And so shelters in the east are taking in those animals, but then themselves be coming to a point where they need to evacuate. What do they do with the shelter? So that's where Nowzad has come in to support them, and we've had some amazing donations from our supporters over the last few weeks to actually help us with, as you said earlier, the logistics, because Ukraine is the size of France and Germany combined. It is crazy the mileage you do just trying to get to the animals to move them out.
Tell us about what's happened to those animals that you've got out of Ukraine. Where have they gone? Have they been adopted by people? Are they awaiting adoption? Just tell us the journey that they've had, quite literally.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. The cities that we've been evacuating from is actually under drone range now from the Russians. So it was a very dangerous place. Every time we were there at night, it's just constant barrage from missiles and drones. So getting those animals out, they're very traumatized by obviously what's gone on. They don't understand what this loud bang is, what the vibrations are around the shelter. So we've been transporting them to shelters in the west of the country that have thankfully opened their doors, and with obviously donations that we've been receiving, we've helped them to build temporary kennels or catteries within these shelters. And so they will hold on to the animals, and we can all just hope that the war ends, soon, if not tomorrow, so that actually Ukraine can get back to normal. They can get back to, adopting animals out. Before the war, they actually had a really good adoption process for their animals. They were on top of it, but sadly, obviously, the war has now, taken away that ability for people to actually have a dog or cat.
Let me ask you about you, Pen. Royal Marines aren't always known for their cuddly nature, and they're often seen as incredibly tough people, and they are incredibly tough people. But what is it? Tell me about your affinity and your love for animals and why you do this.
I think, it's being there to actually help, and in this case, dog or cat, that just this innocent bystander. It didn't want to be in that war zone. It didn't ask for what's happening to it. And so, as myself and all of our team, it's not just me. There's an amazing team of people behind Nowzad. They have the ability and they've got the ability to actually make a difference for that animal. And that's what our supporters do, is actually help us be the difference for an animal in need. And I think it was just that, being able to do something positive in, which is a pretty horrible situation.
Your animal airlift from Afghanistan was nothing if not controversial. Do people still bring that up? Do people still talk to you about that? And what do you say to them?
Every single day. We still get people who come up with the tagline, pets over people. We rescued, our 67 staff and the dogs and cats that we had in our shelter. So normally I ask them to read my book, Operation Ark, and I say, read that, because that's the truth of what happened, and you can actually then figure out for yourself whether you believe me or not.
Also, you get to sell a few books, Pen. Presumably that's on the Nowzad website. Just to do a little shout out for your website where you can get the book as well.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I don't get the proceeds from the book. It all goes to the charity. That's the whole point of what we do. So we can actually have the funds to make a difference for animals in need. So the Nowzad website, nowzad.com, Nowzad.com. People will be able to follow now, and especially on our social media, the events of the last 4 weeks. We had the amazing and legendary Peter Cardwell. He came out with us.
He's a great man. I've interviewed him a number of times.
Yeah, and it was amazing to have him out there, and to witness it firsthand. And I think for him it was a pretty emotional trip.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been a crazy 4 weeks, but people can follow all of that by logging onto our socials and having a look.
When you're putting a team together for those people who want to volunteer with Nowzad, or people who are employed by Nowzad, what are you kind of looking for? Because there are people contacting us saying, can we volunteer to help? I mean, going to a war zone, of course, it's good to have specialist knowledge, and those things can be, are by its very nature a very hostile environment. I just wonder what you'd say to people who maybe want to help in some way, maybe not just with money, but also with their own volunteering.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely always up for people coming along to help us as a charity, whether that's here in the UK helping us with fundraising and events, or in the future going out to places like Ukraine, especially when it comes to the rebuilding effort when this war is over. There'll be so many shelters and centres that will need to be rebuilt and actually modernised. And that's something that we will definitely be on the lookout for people with skills, whether it be woodworking, whether it be just helping us care for the animals. That is something that's definitely going to be on the cards as soon as this conflict is over.
Bit of a challenging one from Fran here. I'll ask it to you. She says, why can't people adopt other people who have been damaged by war? Animals are important, but really, says Fran. What would you say to Fran?
I'd say that you've just got to look at the Ukrainian volunteers that we help. They're the ones who are actually caring for these animals, and that's what they want to do. I can't make people choose and decide what they've got to look after in life. So we're helping those Ukrainian volunteers. Otherwise, they're there on their own, fending for these animals that, not by choice, were sadly left, abandoned on the streets.
Thank you very much, Pen. Good luck in all your work. And I said to Fran as well, we have an awful lot of people here in the UK who have taken in people. A friend of mine, in fact, 2 people I know took in Ukrainians and have done incredible work there. And we are a very compassionate country, but we're also big animal people too, and we can help them both, I think, Fran, is what I would say. But thank you for your message. I really appreciate it. Lots to discuss as well, and we'll bring you an update on Aston Villa. Prince William is apparently there, the Prince of Wales, in attendance with his favourite club, Aston Villa. They're still 3-0 up against SC Freiburg in their UEFA Europa League final. Under 20 minutes left. They're